Mhm.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live Q&A with Brooke from No Pressure PDA. I'm Ruth Hevelone from PDA North America, and I will let Brooke give herself a quick introduction.
Okay, yeah. So thank you, Ruth. I'm not going to say too much because we only have 30 minutes, but a little bit about me is I run the No Pressure PDA page, and I just like to talk about PDA stuff, ADHD, autism, and trauma. Um, Trauma's bad. Well, trauma happens. That's my 6-year-old here. A little about me and burnout. I talk a lot about burnout. In fact, a lot of my content started analyzing burnout because that's how I discovered my PDA. I've gone through burnout, major burnout 2 times. One time was because of not knowing my limitations with my life. And then that was even before knowing PDA. And during the recovery of that, I didn't know about PDA, but I still was just like, well, this is me. I don't know what's wrong with me, but like, I guess this is how I have to live. And then after that, my second burnout was due to a family crisis, and I had to learn a lot about boundaries around my relationships. So anyway, what is burnout? So that's a good question. So yeah, for anybody who's wondering what the heck burnout is, I would consider burnout to be a long period of time of extreme exhaustion due to overextending oneself in any area. So for neurotypical people, even there's burnout, usually caregiving burnout, overextended in that area. And then if you're neurodivergent and you're autistic or ADHD or PDA, you can experience, it's most likely you're going to experience some kind of burnout because our culture isn't automatically accommodating us. So anyway, that's all I'll say. So we'll go forward into the questions.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Brooke.
Yeah.
Okay. So our first question is, please tell me about the lead up to burnout, the burnout, and after the burnout.
Okay. Yeah. So lead up to burnout is cool because I was just talking about this with a friend of mine. How I see the signs of burnout are kind of like, in a vehicle and the check engine light comes on, and you have these incidents and you're like, oh no, is this like a problem or is this just like a fluke? So in someone's life, the lead up to burnout usually looks like increasing periods of time of just functioning being interrupted, and that can look different ways. That can look like the person needing to retreat more often. It can look actually more wild than that.
How much burnout have you said?
A lot, honey. I'm gonna say burnout a lot in this. It can look like more erratic emotional mood swings. Just that exhaustion means that the person is unable to kind of keep it together and moderate their own levels of emotion, like the emotional regulation, I should say. Emotional regulation is increasingly difficult to manage through burnout because our batteries are drained. So that's kind of what it looks like leading up to it. You'll just see this like more and more and more and more often, especially if accommodations aren't made and if no interventions are put in, which then leads to what I would consider, I just call it right now, the big burnout. That's when you finally have to stop. You either crash and can't function, or sometimes people realize, like, they see the signs and they are like, uh-oh, I got to make a change. Well, then when they make the change to accommodate themselves, they drop pushing. They stop pushing. And I like to use the analogy, if I'm not a fitness person, but if you're like, even in a fight and there's adrenaline's pumping, you can do a lot of things during that adrenaline rush where you're just like doing, and you don't feel the pain. As soon as you get a chance to rest, all of that floods in and you feel all the pain, you feel all the muscles you've pulled, you feel all the healing you need to do. So I think it's a lot like that, where once you're able to stop, or you are forced to stop, a lot of people are hospitalized. I was almost hospitalized. Then you just feel it all and your tolerance is gone and the pushing is not there anymore. I think that's why a lot of families say once they accommodate and switch to, like, say, low demand parenting, they're like, my child's worse. That's a reason why they can be worse, is that now they're not pushing anymore. So open the door, honey. Open the door. And you need to go if you're going to talk to me the whole time. See, I can be real with my PDA kids. I don't really do anyway, that's a tangent. So, and then post burnout, it's a long process. Yes, honey, it's a long process. For myself, it's kind of like, it just depends. It really depends. Like, how much can the person be accommodated while they're trying to recover, and how much rest can they actually have? Then go outside. I'm on the phone and I said I was moving on the phone, so we need to go. It depends on, like, how much can you actually rest and take care of yourself? So this last time I had about a year of stress, maybe a little over a year of stress, and it took me about 3 years of gradually getting better. And so the recovery can look very intermittent, just like the lead up is intermittent, like function, not functioning. And then burnout recovery is often like not functioning. Oh, I'm having a good day. Okay, not functioning again. And that's hard because you can think like, oh, I'm better. No, you're not better. You're getting better. And it's like a process. So anyway, I talk a lot, so I have to like stop myself from taking up all the time on one question.
I think it was a very good question though, and like such a good,
yeah,
like,
it is a good question.
Yeah,
that's true.
Okay. All right, great. So our next question is, what, if any, is the difference between PDA burnout and autistic burnout in children?
Artistic, yeah.
Artistic.
So some distinctions. First of all burnout feeds into each other. So if you're ADHD and autistic, you're going to have certain triggers that drain you because you're not accommodating your ADHD, and if you're not accommodating your autism, then you're going to feel burned, like it's a drain. Just think of anything that's not accommodating a specific need that you have based on a diagnosis or based on your personality, whatever it is, that's going to drain your battery. So I'd say that the distinct difference between autistic burnout is that autistic burnout typically is when it's some kind of sensory need, or like whether it's like, okay, too much socializing, too much, like it's a more tangible thing in my experience. I need to socialize a little less. I need more time to recharge, when I'm out and about. The lights are too bright. I need to have some kind of sunglasses. Those will help me. The sounds are too loud. Let me put on, my noise canceling headphones. So there's a number of specific accommodations with autism, and some of those even clash with PDA needs, which is interesting and sucky. So like a lot of non-PDA autistic people will do much better and recover more. Of course, everybody needs to rest when they're completely burned out. Like that's true of any human being, period. But as an autistic person is recovering, if they're not PDA, they might find that I just need more clarity. I need more clear guidelines, and they need to negotiate those things too. So I'm not saying like, sometimes there's this like, oh, PDA people need personalization, and then the implication is autistic people don't, and that's not true. It's more that there's some predictability with autism that's not there with PDA. And so I found that my PDA, regardless of accommodations in other areas, my PDA's specific accommodation is just like, I need the flexibility to cancel at things if needed. If I don't feel like I can cancel things, it immediately creates a problem. So I will feel trapped and shut down. You can see how that makes employment complicated because we usually don't get that kind of flexibility in any kind of job that we're getting paid for. So there's a flexibility to cancel things. There's a flexibility to move things around. The higher need for a voice, it's not that nobody else needs a voice in their work. It's just an even more pronounced need for autonomy, even more pronounced need for, I have to feel like I have a say in everything I'm doing. And if I don't feel like I have that say, it's draining me. So again, just more pronounced. And I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'll just leave it at that because it might come to me later. So
Great. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
How can you help your adolescent out of burnout, but how can you tell when they are coming out of or are out of burnout?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So I believe that, okay, so there's two types of burnout, actually. We're very used to talking about the type of burnout with PDA where you're doing too much and you need to slow down. But there is burnout too when there is burnout as well where you're not stimulated enough in a certain area and you need stimulation. That can Frankie. So now let's my train of thought. Hold on a second. Yeah, I got it. So yeah, there's these two experiences that you can have. Both can cause you to feel stuck and have behavior struggles. We're most of the time burnout is happening because of too much. And so the recovery I see for that is just, you'll see a lot of inactivity, lower functioning. You'll start to see that as they're getting healed, and this can be a long time. We're talking years, you know. Some people are like freaked out by that, but it's true. It's like, talk to anybody who's been through it. It takes years of slow recovery. But you'll start to see that that person is doing a little bit more, starting to be more active. I err on the side of caution and just let someone's initiative show itself, because they're so used to usually not having a voice, not having the ability to have autonomy in their own life, that they it's like a muscle that's never been used. That's how it felt for me. It's like, I don't even know what this feels like. It's freaking me out. So there's really a change that's happening, or should be happening, during the burnout process, where you were living a life that was not suited to you. Now you, the child and the adult, have to figure that, you know, especially if it's a child, they need the adult as a partnership to help them figure that out. Like, what is a lifestyle that's actually going to fit this person? And usually that just means a lot of patience and a lot of trial and error, but leaning more towards erring on the side of caution that individual, even adolescent, especially an adolescent actually, is going to start to show their own initiative. As they feel better, it'll show itself. So
Great, thank you so much.
Mhm.
My teenage son is newly diagnosed internalized PDAer. He reached full burnout from attending high school for the first time in December and is now just barely in recovery. He is doing full independent study at home.
Mom?
I'm sorry?
No, that was my son.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
It's okay.
He is still very school avoidant, but also very avoidant of doing anything outside of the house that isn't of high interest. Is this typical for burnout to extend in all parts of life? Does it help to encourage him to take baby steps outside of the home, or does that make it worse? How long can it last? I think some of this you just answered, but definitely.
Right. Yeah, that's very typical. I think one of the hardest parts of burnout for me is just the things I normally enjoyed, or that I couldn't enjoy anymore until I had the capacity to enjoy it. Because you have to keep in mind that, like, any activity we do, even the things we like, do take something from us. Like, we have to give to get. And if you don't have anything to give that initial give, then you can't make the exchange. Like, that exchange can't happen. And that's what's hard about burnout too, is, again, because like that understimulation is a part of it, but it's just, you just have to work with it. You just have to be really patient. And there are some ways you can kind of help. I mean, I just say there's nothing wrong with making suggestions like, hey, do you want to try this? Now, if a parent is, I think the biggest struggle of being a caregiver is worry. Because that anxiety and that worry that I'm not doing enough, like, that's really our culture, is like, do more. Like, if there's a problem, you fix it. And I think that that's what's hard about PDA, is that it's just so counterintuitive to how to fix something. Like, you tell someone do less and they're like, well, you're being lazy, or you're being this, or you're being that. And it's like, no, doing less, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's just very counter to a very productive mindset of our culture. So if you can just kind of see that, that's what that's highlighting. PDA burnout is highlighting that we need to slow down. I find the value in that. I think that's a cool thing. And I think it might also help to calm those anxieties and those worries that you're raising someone or you're not doing your job or something, like, anyway, I feel like I'm about to ramble. So go ahead and ask the next question.
Okay, thank you. I think that was a really valuable answer.
Okay.
Okay, we've used the 5 mental health days allowed by the law as a reason for missing school, but my 8-year-old son is in burnout. We do not have a psychologist yet, and I cannot unschool him or deschool him. How do I help him with his burnout and stay in school? I have already had 2 school social workers come to my house.
That sucks. That's my main thing, is like, it sucks that is like, that's a normal situation for a lot of families, that they can't just drop everything. So I can give you solidarity that, like, it's very normal to be in that situation. I'd say a couple things. One is, I think it's still a value that if you're in communication with your son along the way of what you can and can't do. I know I maybe it's just me, but as a parent, sometimes I feel like I need the answers before I go to my children. Like, I need to have it figured out before I go to them and talk to them about the problem. And one shift that's happened with me, especially lately, is like, I bring the problem to them. And we talk about it as equals of like, I don't know what to do. And I think for a parent, it might feel freaky, because you're like, oh, I'm not being that strong support system for my child. But actually, and here's a paradox here with PDA, feeling like equals, feeling like you're both struggling, can actually make a PDAer feel empowered, because they feel like they're not the only one having a hard time. So that equality can actually just help in a lot of things that we can't change. I would say, though, from a practical side, if you're not in it already, we have a group, PDA USA, on Facebook, and we try to provide free help and advice. We have Erica, who's also a volunteer here at PDA North America, and she does a lot with helping with like IEPs. So there's a lot that can be done with an IEP. And I would say that is definitely a place where you could start to work out like something, and again, just encouragement that, like, the effort matters. You might not be able to do all the ideal things, but I just think that the effort the fact that you're making the effort, and the fact that you're including your child in the process, will make almost all the difference in what you can't control. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. How do we support a 9?
Sorry, hold on. What'd you say?
Me?
Yes, so you
Okay.
read it again.
Yes. How do we support a 9-year-old high-masking, fawning 9-year-old girl from falling into burnout? What school supports? We are low demand at home, but school does not see the disability. She is a top model student with so much aggressive behavior at home towards her siblings and parents.
Okay, so quick answer kind of ties to the last one. Keep in mind that the IEP process, so that's the individualized education plan that children with various needs and disabilities are applicable for in the school system. They have legal rights to these things. It matters how the child is at home. So I know it feels frustrating, and it is a difficult process, because sometimes the schools are not the most easy to work with, and they can be very difficult. But I kind of give the same advice as the last question, where our group, PDA USA, and maybe Ruth, if you don't mind linking it in the chat or somewhere, or sending it out. But that's a place where you can have some people give some like specific advice on how they handled the school system, because that's a battle. I can't do it. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I'm amazing because I'm on here. I will tell you right now, I suck at working with the school system. It's so triggering to me to work with anybody who views me from a skeptical point of view. So I had the ability to, but I was like, nope, I ain't doing it. So for those who have to deal with the school, I would just say, plug into our network and then get some advice on how to do that. Oops, are you okay?
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna get back to the questions. Can you explain what burnout looks like for an internalized PDAer versus an externalized PDAer? Are there any strategies to help them and the family? Any strategies would be greatly appreciated.
I don't know that. So it can look different. I think one of the examples was, I think a lot of internalizers will mask at whatever the stressor is. So if it's school, they're masking at school and they're seeming like they're fine. And then when they get home, they're empty. They have nothing to give. So then you see all the behaviors, come out at home. An externalizer would show their distress at their stressors. So if they're at school and that's what's stressing them out, they're going to be obvious about it and it's going to come out. It just sucks both ways, because usually if they're showing it at school, the school's blaming the parents. If they're showing it at home, the school's blaming the parents. So it's like, really, it's like both ways. It kind of sucks, but the support is not any different. It's still going to be an individualized approach of, working with your kid, opening up communication. Again, a lot of these concepts are so counter to our culture that it's like we have to learn as a parent how to even do these things without feeling like we're somehow breaking like cardinal parenting rules of like, oh no, I don't negotiate with my child because then they think they're in control. It's like, well, for kids that are PDA, having a measure of control is life or death for us. So if you want to, I think it's good for all kids, but for us, it's like all or nothing. Like you can shut us down completely or help us to function. And so it's just opening that doorway to working with the kid and plugging into the community for ideas to troubleshoot like how to support them if they have to stay in school. So
yeah. Someone asked in the chat a related question of, is limiting screen time during burnout recovery a bad idea?
I think it is. I think any addictive behavior, whether that's overeating or screen time, or people tend to blame the object of the addiction. First of all, I think people don't understand that being a neurodivergent individual means we have a lot of sensitivities that most people don't have. Modern culture just functions in a way that has a lot of busyness and noise and activity. So what screens can do, especially for PDA kids, is it provides an outlet where we do have control. So that's a big part of it. And I remember as a kid, so I didn't have screens all through my growing up. It was probably high school that screens, like being on the computer, and I loved it, and it still has value to me. So like I used to get immersed. I'd get off of school and then I'd like stay up all night like on and do like GeoCities and Angel Fire and like design websites. And I was sad for many years because I was like, man, I don't use those skills anymore. And then when I became an advocate, I was like, oh, cool. Like I get to use these skills again, where play around with, making a website and graphic design. And so it's really, it provides us an outlet for us to have some control in a life that feels like if you don't have control. And until the child, like, yes, there are situations where I think it is of benefit to nudge and kind of like, okay, let's do something else. But I think that if you're working with a kid that's in that, I know. If you're working with, your sense of time and my sense of time are different. So if you're working with a kid who's used to being overextended, you just again err on that side of caution, that like assume that they need less moderate, less structure, less controlling. And it's not a simple answer there either, because I would say, I would try to have some limits like around bedtime, because for me as a caregiver, bedtime to me is something I need to function at my best. Yes, honey. Sorry. I don't know, honey. I don't know where it went. We'll get you another balloon, okay? Balloons. I know. Might have to go soon because we're at 4 minutes in anyway. So 4 minutes, Frank, okay? So I'm just again losing my train of thought here.
We can go to the next question because there's
go ahead to the next one. It's fine.
Okay, great. This one is from an adult PDAer. They said, I believe I experienced PDA burnout during the pandemic. While I'm in a better place than I was a few years back, I haven't picked up the pieces, and I'm living in nowhere near where I'd like to be. I really feel stuck. Can you share stories or tips to move forward from burnout?
I think I shared a lot, but for an adult For me, it was connecting with the PDA community. That was huge for me because then I could start to see other examples of things people did to help themselves in like different situations and things that they tried, and just the act of, you know, if we've got this really active nervous system, then it means a lot to us to have other safe nervous systems around us. And even if they're long distance, you know, for me anyway, it works. But you know, there's these we have support groups now, you know, through PDA North America that are free. I just say connect in any way you can with other PDA adults. I think that's a big help in and of itself. And then from there you can kind of troubleshoot what might help. And I might have to go because he's very sad.
No worry.
All right.
Yeah, we can end it there. We really appreciate your time. Thank you
no
so
trouble.
much to
Yeah.
everybody for coming today. Thank you to Brooke. I know that this can be a triggering topic for people that have gone through it, so we appreciate you so much for sharing everything that you did. And if people do have follow-up questions, Brooke is very active on Facebook, and she does run, I put both links of the groups that she moderates in here. One is specific to like homeschool or unschooling for PDAers, and one's just the PDA USA page. So I welcome you to join those. And I have found personally so much insight from both of those groups. So thank you again, and happy PDA Day, everyone.
Thanks,
PDA
Brooke.
Day. Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Bye.
Diane. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Oh, I don't know.